Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
All right, everybody, it's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The Outer Realm in the category of Best Female Hosted Podcast. The Outer Realm is a very popular show hosted by Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, which boasts millions of listeners each week who are well known for and have been complimented on their very laid-back, roundtable style of interviewing. Together, this dynamic duo brings you the best of the best with guests from around the world who are well-versed within their respective fields of ufology, paranormal, esoteric, and other areas of high strangeness, and more. So go to podcastawards.com to nominate The Outer Realm in the category Best Female Hosted Podcast. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and do it now.
All right, everybody, it's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcast. Yes, it is that time of year again. There's a show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards, UFO Undercover, in the category of entertainment. UFO Undercover brings you some of the most revealing and current research that is being done with respect to alien abductions and contact. Host Joe Montaldo has been an abduction researcher for over 35 years and is uniquely qualified to bring you live interviews with some of the most well-known researchers in ufology. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate UFO Undercover in the category of entertainment. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and get out and vote now.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live in United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey since the very beginning. Thank you, Folgers. We're looking forward to another great year with you. Also, big thank you, Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, for his contribution of his time and his music for our new intro and outro. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite platforms. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind our banners and logos at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror genre, but does some great commission pieces. So thank you, Steve McGinnis. Time of year again, guys. People's Choice Podcast Awards. You'll see us playing some ads throughout the network. You saw a couple as we got started, and you'll see a couple more as we move along. So please check them out at thepodcastawards.com. Go in and vote, for us preferably. But hey, we have great shows on the network, so you can vote for all of them, actually. So we're all in different categories, so go check them out. But tonight, I'm welcoming, as you can see, I'm solo. Bubbles is down. Bad Storm's rolling through, and her head is just like a pickaxe to it. So we wish her well, and hoping that she gets better real soon. But we welcome our colleague here at the United Public Radio Network, Lorilei Potvin. You guys will know her from the Angel Rock and The Thing at the Foot of the Bed. I just love that name. I don't know how you came up with it, but I really like it.
David did.
Very good. Yes, Howie. Yeah, he feels like he's stalking you, Lorilei. So
I love Howie. You love him.
But hi, Howie. Hi, Nights. Hey, Tamara. Hello. Yes, we do hope that she's better soon. Boo, big boo. But Lorilei and I will be talking about some pretty exciting things tonight. Well, kind of. I guess it's not exciting if you're living it, but we're going to be talking about paranormal experiences. We're going to talk about how, it affected her life moving forward. And I know I've gone through my own share, which, we don't need to get into a whole lot, but it does change how you live. It changes how you bring people into your life. And when you go on to work in the field, it changes how you do things. And I had an extremely humbling experience that straightened my butt right out to the point where it set precedence for how I moved forward 2 decades, like for 2 decades after that experience. So, welcome, my friend, my colleague.
Thank you for
Oh,
having me. I'm so grateful to be here. This is my first time being on the Outer Realm, so thank
it
you.
is. It is. And I'm grateful we finally made it.
I
So,
think I was destined to meet you, though, because I always tell people, because we shared our story on the Travel Channel on Paranormal Survivor. I did not know you. I didn't know who was going to be part of the show because you just go film. And then I always tell
yes.
people, when you see the episode, that's kind of how we saw it. We didn't know what they were going to put in, and you were part of that episode, but I didn't know you
I
then.
did. I did. And it's funny because they don't really give me a lot of info on
That's what you
things.
said.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
I'll go in and I will, I will sit down and film for, probably 10 segments. And
Mhm.
and then I will end up commenting on all of them. So I'm given a breakdown of everything, and that's it. I comment. And I want to be clear because you've heard me say a lot of times, I will, give many different reasons and logical reasons at that. And, they always want that big $1 million word in there. And it's not always the case, with some of
I
the,
think I know what you're saying. The D word, are you talking about? Because it,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So only because you really become stigmatized with it. So I have to be so careful with it. And then when people hear me on the show, they're like, ha, see, I don't always say it. But I always laugh because it is interesting for sure. And I think we both come to know, and I'm gonna prompt you into telling that story. But I think we both, though, as we live through things like that, because I did through my very early years of my life, but um, we get to a point where we realize there's so many other different types of dimensional, interdimensional, multidimensional beings, and we wonder how many of them cross back and forth.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
so
Well,
I know. So why don't you just take it from here? Just
okay,
what-
so tell the story.
how-
There's a few people here I do know. Hi to everybody. Thank you for, I see all your lovely comments. I know Zach Powers and I know Howie especially, and they have actually been kind of part of it because I met them from our mutual friend Jason Bland, who's on Paranormal too. But let me back up. He's on this. There's some interesting things I'm
yeah.
going to bring into the story, but they've seen it on camera live. So what happened was I always said the paranormal never found us. Or I
Yes.
wasn't looking for it, it found us.
Right.
But when I look back, I'm going to be 58 in August. My earliest experience, I remember I was 4 years old. There was a
Mm.
thunderstorm. We were in this old house. This was late, well, I was born in 65, so about 69, 1969. I remember my parents renovating the house. So my mother had to steam off 37 layers of wallpaper to get to the plaster. That's how old this house was. And
Wow.
I remember ugly bedroom, 70s, purple flowers and the whole bit, right? To get these
Yeah.
glossy curtains. Yeah, glossy curtains
Very
on the window.
psychedelic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You couldn't walk on the floors. They were hardwood, but I guess the finish was going, so you get slivers, right? Well, anyways, one night it was thundering and lightning. It was the middle of the night. I'd been asleep and I woke up and I started hearing this tapping on the window outside. And I'm like looking up over my covers and I thought it was a tree because the wind was howling outside as they do in storms. And then I looked
Like
again.
tonight out here. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're in. Well, I'm not glad you have it, but I'm in northwestern
Oh,
Ontario.
I am. I love it.
So at least it's gone around the lake. So hopefully we don't get some.
Yes. No, we've got
But
it for you. No worries.
no, nobody should have. Well, we need the rain, but anyways, and I looked again, and I swear to God, it was like a claw going across the window like this.
Oh.
And I'm getting goosebumps as I'm telling this story. And I remember hiding under my covers, and I knew I couldn't go to my parents' room. My mother would have beat my butt for getting up in the middle of the night over nothing. So
Right.
all I remember thinking was, please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. And I swear to God, something pinched me right on the back, like right where your waist is.
Oh,
I think I mean, I'm going to be 58 and I remember this. So,
right.
but the
Right.
paranormal runs on my dad's side. Like my grandmother was quite
Mm.
psychic. She knew the moment her third eldest son died in a car accident, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't have too much scary else that I can recall, but when I was 8, something very strange happened, and I've shared this with you before.
You
We moved
did.
into a new house that was built right from the ground up, like nobody lived there, and we moved in towards the end of August, beginning of September. And as it moved into fall, all of a sudden I started waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, unable to breathe, completely
Mm.
blue, and every single night until the snow fell again. We never found out why. It wasn't, they diagnosed me with asthma for lack of another reason, but I can tell
That's
you, because I'm a nurse.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
still never found out. Actually, somebody asked me this recently on a show, do I know why? And I don't. I'm not sure if it's
Mm. Sometimes it's just random acts, you know. Sometimes it's your energy that just maybe doesn't jive with whatever was there.
I was afraid to go to sleep because it was every night. Like I never
Yeah,
got a reprieve. And I didn't know anything about the paranormal. I was like 7 years
right.
old, even
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
be 8.
Hmm.
So that happened. And then as a nurse, I had really strange things happen, especially on night shift, actually. I'm writing a book about some of the experiences that myself and others, mostly nurses, but first responders,
Hmm.
experience at the bedside as we transition. But my story started, I lived in this previous home. It
Hmm.
was my first husband's home from childhood. They never had any problems there. But
Hmm.
when we bought it from his parents, what happened was my ex-husband almost had a personality change.
Oh,
Like he was very quiet, but he became very depressed, very withdrawn, wanted nothing to do with the children really or anybody. Could never get a break, even though he had 3 university degrees. Like it just was making minimal money.
mm.
Anyways, shortly before we broke up, we started having really crazy stuff happening. And
Mm.
how I preface it is we had just watched the movie The Secret, so that's how long ago this was.
Right.
And I got up. My back was quite bad. I'd hurt my back as a nurse, so I could not work full time as a nurse anymore, active nursing duty. And I was in bed a lot. But when I could get up, I would go out and do
Mm.
a little bit of shopping. And I made pet accessories and jewelry and things like that. And I remember the next day I went out and I came home and I said to him, "Holy cow, like, why don't this is crazy. Every local store I've gone to, we got
Mm.
chatting. They all want to carry my merchandise, but nobody wants compensation." And he said, or commission. And he said,
Right.
"Oh, maybe it's the secret." And we were laughing, no big deal. Well, I went to bed that night and this dream that happened was like it happened 10 minutes ago. There was a tree in my front yard in my old home, and I was outside with this tree. There was a man sitting in the tree. I can tell you, always say I'm not a high maintenance kind of girl, but he was wearing a very expensive dark charcoal colored pinstripe suit,
Mm.
white silk shirt, black silk tie, with this black, not here, sorry, black
Yeah.
goatee and mustache, all one piece, very close, and black slick
Right.
back hair, but his skin was this sickly white. There's a reason why I'm giving so much detail.
Okay.
But his eyes went to this black kind of fiery yellow, orange. And
Oh,
then he
different.
said, "Hello, Lorilei. You see that little business that you have? What happened today?" He goes, "That's nothing. I can give you wealth. I can give you fame. I can give you anything beyond your wildest dreams. All you have to do is agree to follow me." And it's not radio friendly what I told him to do, but in no uncertain terms did I
Right.
agree. Then he started
Right.
laughing at me, wagging his finger, and going, "Oh, no,
Mm.
no, 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 no," because I told him to leave. And he said, "Every time you see a crow or a raven, you'll know who it is." And he'd already given me his name. And he did use the D word. And I
Right.
didn't know anything about the paranormal at this time. I wasn't looking for it. And
Right.
all heck broke loose basically after that in my home.
Wow. Wow. So whether you accepted the deal or not, seems, like whatever,
And I
he had
found
his
everything
eye
he
on you.
gave
Yeah.
me. Everything he gave me about 5 years later, I was helping somebody else because I could not find this name. I'd never heard this
Right.
name, been
Yeah.
raised Roman Catholic, not that we
Well, they
study.
don't always necessarily tell you their name either, though. They'll give
That's
you
what
a
I
name.
question now. Yeah, like why
Yeah.
did you give me your name? Like, were you a poser to me? Because they don't give you your name. So why would
No,
you
they'll
give me
give
your
you a name, or they'll jumble things around a little bit. I mean, it's
name?
rare. Let's put it
He
that way.
spelled
That
it
you,
for me. Like, and I'd never heard this name before. And like I said, I just about fell off my chair about 5 years later when I found the exact spelling, exact name, exact animal form. Like
yeah.
people, like my partner now has been thrown 15 feet across the kitchen, into the cupboards, bite marks, scratch marks. There's some
Mm-hmm.
crazy, we never did EVPs, but I would call into Paranormal Soup every
Mm-hmm.
week. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's how I know Howie and Zach have seen stuff. But what would
Right.
happen is it would they would have ITC night. There are some crazy EVPs I have on my profile. People can see when I called in. Just insane, like
Mm-hmm.
class A plus,
Right.
intelligent.
Right. Yeah, I've collected many of those over the years, and they're not that easy
No, you
to
can hardly see
acquire, not in abundance anyway.
that.
But these are the only sort of families I would work with, people in your
Mhm.
situation, and I seem to, excel at being able to help people. I seem to get an understanding of it
You're
because I went through it
amazing.
myself. Well,
You
thank
are
you.
amazing at what you do, and
I
I'm
have a
not kicking
team.
you
I have a
much
team.
more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, but yeah, I spent, like 20 years just working with people and working, educating as well, mindset and things like that, and how to help themselves. Because after a while you become a safety net, and that's not good, because I'm not going to be here forever. Right.
Mhm.
One day, I'm not going to be here. But realistically speaking, by the time I'm done helping people, they pretty much don't need me anymore if it happens again. I still, like 20 years later, will occasionally hear from people and they'll say, I just want you to know we had a bit of an amp up, and, we took care of it. You helped us. We understand. We were able to do it. And it really felt good. And other people have gone on to have their own teams and help people
Mhm.
themselves. So it's nice to see all that getting paid forward, and
Yeah,
it
but it's
wasn't a
hard to
wasted
find
education.
people.
Sorry?
Sorry. Hard to find people like you, Michelle, because
Oh, thank you.
there's not a lot of people. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, and that's how I become so knowledgeable about the paranormal. Like, it was like a 20-hour a day job. I don't sleep a lot. Researching, I started locally and eventually worked out globally. Took
Right.
many different courses, worked with mentors. Then I discovered that I've always had the abilities that I've rediscovered now since this experience. And when I look back on it, I almost think that maybe that's why it happened, because I would never have followed the path that I'm doing now had I not had the experience that I did.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
I think you have to do, good. I love it. I think that's the key. I think why a lot of people will go on to tell their stories. I've had a lot of people say to me, we want to tell our story, on these different shows. And, for them, because they don't know how, they want to give back something. And I never accept payment. They'll say, what can we do? I'll say, pay it forward to someone else in whichever way
Yeah.
you want. Just pay forward a good deed. And that's all I ask. And I've always been really, like firm about that. But they'll say, well, we can give back by maybe telling our story as well. And if even one person can learn from our story, then that's one person that maybe can get help. So I thought, you know what? Yeah, it's one of the reasons I agreed to do a lot of these shows, not so much comment on them, like I have given a lot of names and a lot of people to a lot of television shows, because I consult on a lot of shows. And, like I have filled entire seasons of just by giving the stories, and that's how many people that I've worked with. So I do think it's very important that, if you take something back from that, if you can get something good out of it, of such a horrific experience, and do something with it. It's just like you said, that to me is la pièce de résistance, as they say.
Mhm. Well, I
So
think that that's the one thing I don't charge. And again, I don't do what you do. But like I always say to
you
people,
do
if
readings.
you have,
That's different. That's different. I don't do
well, I
readings.
do, but I do healing work, or I can do
Yeah,
distance work.
that's
There's
a
lots of
that's
different
a whole other
things.
thing. Yeah.
You know what somebody told me once, and I kind of believe this because it kind of works this way. Somebody that's pretty gifted, and they said, "You know what you are? You're a connector." And I do
Oh,
believe that. What they meant by that is I connect people with the people that need to meet certain people, and I've kind of done
yeah.
that my whole life. And I
Yeah.
don't mean it to sound arrogant, but where I'm going with this is, okay, so say you get a leak in your sink, in your pipes,
Mhm.
somebody. Could you fix it in a pinch? Yes, if you went on YouTube or something and found a video. But is it probably going to be fixed correctly with no knowledge of how to fix it?
Mhm.
Probably
Right.
not. So who are you going
Right.
to call? You're going to call somebody that does it all the time, like a plumber.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying is that's where I would say to somebody, this isn't my field of expertise. Let me connect you with someone, say
Right.
like you, Michelle, or somebody else, depending on what the situation is. So I know my limits and I know
Right.
where I feel comfortable and I know my lane if I will. But I know enough people now that that's also how I can help people.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the key is always like, don't let it go to waste. If you have a
Mhm.
natural ability to do something, mine just happened to be, that stuff, and you do it with ease. You find that when you're even putting people in touch with other people, it's easy. You just automatically know, no, this is
Yeah.
the right avenue for you. This is the right person for you. This is the right everything. Everything falls into place. You don't have to struggle to put it together,
No,
right?
you're absolutely right. And you know where I just got that picture of that? I've often said that, and it's a little bit off topic, but even when I walk into a store, I'm very creative. And I can be walking around the store and it's just like the pieces all come together. I can see them and I know what I'm going to make.
Yeah.
That's what gave me
Yeah.
what exactly what you just said. Same thing.
Yeah,
Pieces all come together. Hmm.
they do, and I think it's synchronicity, and I
Hmm.
love that. I think we need to sort of educate ourselves or train ourselves to look for all the signs that are left in place. I have noticed it more and more and more because I pay
Hmm.
attention now, and I think to
Hmm.
myself, like, "Why haven't I been paying attention to this before?" Because they all add up to something that and there's a message in most of it. And
Hmm.
for me, it's just and I know this stuff, and I'm thinking, "Why am I only now really paying attention to it? What's different now than then?"
I'm a firm believer in when something happens, that's when it's meant to happen. And I know
Yeah,
you know that, but people listening,
yeah,
but I hear what you're saying. I've asked myself the same question too, right? Looking at things that
yeah,
maybe I never looked at or thought were important, but I hear what you're
right.
saying. Hmm.
Right, yeah, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it all matters. So, you
Hmm.
went from this I mean, you ended up having an experience, like another really horrific experience with your now partner. Do you
Hmm.
think this followed you from like, do you
Oh, yeah.
feel the
Well,
same entity
it
is
didn't,
responsible for all of this?
I haven't told anybody this. So this is the first time they've heard this, but yes, we have had an experience here.
Right.
Yes, because I think that these things, when you're dealing with dark things, they don't forget who you are, but also it was never dealt with. Most people will be told to move or whatever. We could never find help. Like it didn't matter. Every time we'd find somebody, either they'd get sick, a family member would get sick, something would
Mm,
happen, they weren't
right.
able to help, or some of the things too, I will tell you, if we listened, oh my gosh, we would have been in way worse trouble. But we would say to
Wow.
people, we don't have dial 911 paranormal, not that anybody does, but we
Right,
did
right.
we're having a hard enough time trying to find somebody knowledgeable enough to help. So we're not going to be doing stuff that we don't know what we're doing. Like we
Mhm.
want to be able to work with someone that knew what they were doing. So yes, I think it follows you, but I also think that certain practices, especially say I think people are ungrounded or people that you live
Mm,
with or certain things that they do can certainly leave you open to this. I don't think they forget you. Everything's energy.
mhm.
Hmm.
Well, I agree with that big time, and what do you do with people who project their own energy? Because they're going through something really horrific. It kinda makes you wonder, it's like the hen and the egg. What
Hmm.
comes first, is projecting out energy attracting anything? Or is it the other way around? Or is it simply, I mean, I remember my daughter when she was like 16, just messaging me, and I'd be helping or working with somebody. She goes, "There's a statue on the table moving by itself." I'm like, "Stop it! It's you. It's just bloody hormones. Knock it off." I'd know if there was something in my own house, and over time, as she calmed her energy down, being, like 16, 15, 16, then everything just stopped. I did it myself, and being much, much wiser now. Thank you, Knights, as you pointed out. You're wiser now than back then. I'd like to think so, but I have my moments of non such
We
clarity.
all do. Ah, there
You
goes
know.
my story, guys.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm telling you, my yarn stand here. Sorry, guys, my stand is not moving tonight.
that's
Go ahead.
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just realized that a lot of times when this stuff started in
There
my
we go.
own life,
Mm-hmm.
that how much of it was I projecting as well. And
Mm-hmm.
boy, could I project.
See,
Psychokinesis
I
was like
didn't.
rampant in my home. So,
See, I believe that tween and adolescent girls, especially with the amount of hormones, I don't get me wrong, boys do too, but
yeah,
girls, it's
yes,
monthly. And
right.
if something's bad, it's really bad. And if you're angry, you're really angry. And then you
Mhm.
start to calm down, like you said, around 15 or 16. But the problem
If you're
is,
lucky,
I
I know
never was
people in their
allowed to,
30s who
though.
are through the darn roof, man.
I was never allowed to express those kind of emotions growing up.
Right, right.
So I think what I did was I repressed it because I had a lot of illness very
Mm,
young for people that should not have that kind of illness, and I did. So I think that it's got to go somewhere. It's energy,
right,
right? And you got to
right.
express it. And if you don't express it and you turn it inwards, that's where my healing work comes in, where I work with helping people clear their energy.
Mhm.
But in the way of like healing work is what I'm saying. So
Right.
for teenage girls that can express their energy, yes, they
Mhm.
are powerful. That's where telekinesis comes in.
Oh,
That's where, all kinds
right.
of things.
Oh,
Hmm.
it's a lot of really good things if it can actually be guided. But I mean, I think nowadays you have more seasoned researchers who recognize it.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a lot of new researchers who aren't getting past the a ghostly thing. There are so many logical explanations, and psychokinesis is very pretty much poltergeist activity on par.
Hmm.
And the only way you're going to help calm that down is by calming down the individual,
I
which
think
is not.
grounding though too. Like I
Oh,
learned that from you.
absolutely.
I knew how important it was, but over
Yes.
the years since I've gotten to know you, that's my
Mhm.
number one thing. Besides, I teach people that if you want to protect your energy, you don't have
Mhm.
to come from a place of fear. I call it a
No.
love shield when I teach people, but grounding is number one, I think.
I completely agree with you. I'll have people say, "Well, what about meditation?" I'll say, "Meditation is phenomenal, but ground first. Always ground
Absolutely.
first. If you're having an edgy day, it doesn't have to be grounding doesn't have to have anything to do with paranormal. It just
Mm-mm.
has to do with, keeping yourself grounded. So, especially if you're a very emotional individual, or if you're feeling really, full of anxiety, and you have a lot of depression, or, even if it's just a bad day, grounding your
Or
energy,
anger.
yes,
Or anger,
big
because I
time.
express it more freely now. I'm not an angry person. It takes a lot to get me angry. But when I do feel like I'm getting angry, what I found the best, doesn't matter what the weather's like, I go outside and I sit
Right.
outside
Well, you can
and
do
I just,
earthing now this time of year, right?
mhm, mhm. Yep.
So
So I love that it came out though, that new documentary, that earthing, like this incredible new practice. It's been around for thousands of years.
it has. But it comes the old joke, hug a tree. It's the
Yeah.
same
Oh, that's true.
idea.
Yeah.
And now
Hmm.
scientists are like, no, trees communicate with each other via the root system, and
Oh, yeah.
everything communicates in nature with you. All you have to do is sit quietly and listen. People have even said, no, we could actually hear. Like people who really tuned into nature claim to be able to hear like plants
Well, have
and,
you ever seen
trees
that video?
talk.
That lady with the sunflowers, and she wasn't an audio technician. I'm not quite sure what she attached to her sunflowers, and
Um,
she recorded it. It was like a symphony.
right. Oh,
They were
that's
singing.
crazy. See, I think that's
Mhm.
fantastic. I just want to get to a couple of questions. Comment. As simple as walking with, bare feet in the grass. Absolutely. Hold on. I just had a question there. There you go, Lorilei. For you, should you ground before you get out of bed? Hello, Michelle. That's yours.
Are you asking me? Well,
Yeah,
you
sure am.
can.
You're the
I
guest.
I do. I do
Right.
because I know that I've had some issues with the paranormal around
Mhm.
here. Plus, I get busy. The minute my feet hit the ground, I'm running. So,
Right.
yeah, I ground in the morning and I ground at night. And I
Mhm.
also, like I said, if I'm having a crazy day or maybe some, not so great day, I
Mhm.
will ground. Like I will be Monday, I didn't feel that great. And that's unusual for me. I spent a lot of time outside. I didn't sit in the sun because I think it came from the sun, but I went outside because I think it's imperative
Right.
to
And
ground.
it's really quick. I think if you can't focus, because grounding does take a degree of focus until you can
It does, yeah.
master it. But right now, or if maybe you live in an area where you can go earthing and, walking bare feet in the grass year round. Lucky you if you can. Some of us aren't so lucky, but sometimes it's a quick fix and you just go
Mhm.
out and do that. I find, any amount of time in nature is really, really
Yeah.
grounding.
That's why I suggested outside. Like I have a practice that I do twice a
Mhm.
day at least, and I will do it outside too. But I know if I need to shift my energy quickly, I
Mhm.
just go sit outside, do some deep
Yeah.
breathing, just relax, and I come back in and it's like a completely different it's like I've left it
Completely
outside.
different, right?
Mhm.
Completely different. Hey, Cat, Paranormal Heart Podcast. Some people put a bowl of salt under their bed. Yeah, some
Ooh,
people will put gemstones in between their mattresses. They'll put salt in
mhm,
between their mattresses. They find it grounds them and it protects them. I, I've seen people and I've worked with people putting different stones in between their beds, under their pillows, makes them feel better. Some people will be a Bible. It really depends on your belief system. And to me, it's a matter of your intention. Whatever makes you feel safe, whatever makes you feel
mhm,
strong, whatever makes you feel like it will give you the courage to just hold your
yeah,
ground and take control. It's intention. You can try to, like people will say to me, what about just smudging? And I love it. I love the smell of of many different types of incenses. I love it because I love it, not necessarily I like the smell. So, but again, it's intention. I think it's the power behind the words that you're using. It's the power
mhm.
behind the strength of the intention you have of the act of cleansing. It's you. It's all you. That's what
Well, I
I
think
believe.
yeah. It depends on like I think people have to try different things because some things work for different people.
Mm.
And the one thing I will caution people with crystals is some people are extremely sensitive to certain crystals and they don't realize they are. And I've run into people who've had them around their bed or whatever, and they're having
Oh
a lot of.
yeah. Oh,
So you have to be careful.
absolutely.
Mine's covered in crystals, but I'm not super, super sensitive to crystal energy. I
Right.
work with crystals all the time, but for
Yeah.
me, I don't notice a big difference. But some people, it's powerful.
It is. Well, crystals to me, it's from the earth. The earth is very powerful. There's a whole other energy altogether. I mean, even stone will have a memory. A rock will
Oh
have a
yeah, well
memory.
everything
It will
does.
have a
Yeah.
tone. It will have, I mean, you guys have heard me talk about this on the show before, where people have done recordings and let's say old cathedrals or old temples, and the stone retains that memory. Hell, they have found bowls in archaeological sites that they have worked with and they have recorded it and it's had melodies
Hmm.
just from the
Oh, how
stirring from the
about that?
years.
Mhm,
Yeah, I
mhm,
know. So you see, the earth is just like amazing. And there's so many different things that you can learn. If it comes from the earth, I believe in all of the properties that they have to offer, more so than maybe a man-made object, because the person, who may have made it, if they're having a bad day, that energy is getting put into the craft as well. So, and I don't think people are careful with things like that. When you put something together, you're putting it together. When you're putting your jewelry together, for example, you're putting
Mhm.
it together with care. You know that someone is going to look at this and go, "Oh, I know they're just going to love this
I
one."
Reiki
Because
it. I
see, and
Reiki
it's a
it.
special piece, right? You
Mhm.
make it, you put your energy into it, and you
Mhm.
ground and you work, you do energy work. Therefore, that's a lot different than maybe somebody who's just going to a factory every day with a mundane job that they don't like, but they're doing it. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people, as they say, we're all out there living the dream, not so much. So it's just things to just, bear in mind. So when you going through, let's back up a little bit. And when because you and I have spoken about, the story you presented on Paranormal Survivor,
Mhm.
um, that carried through, you feel, from your first experiences.
Yeah.
Can you get into that a little bit, and why I want to cover a little bit of that? Because it's like I made mention, it's like, there's always that one for me, like I had an experience, that was my experience, that I was into the paranormal. By the time I was from 14 to 18, I cleared my own house, but not ever 100% because I was not a researcher. But as a
Mhm.
researcher, I had that one experience that it changes how you do things moving forward forever, and you keep evolving.
Mhm.
So, was that the experience for you? Which one of these changed it? What was the game changer for you?
Okay, so the game changer for me back in the
Yeah.
old house, the first thing was it was just little things like you'd put your keys down at the front door. We had a shelf there, right? You bend down to put your shoes on, you'd stand up, and all of a sudden your keys aren't there. And you think you're
Right.
going crazy, you're tearing the house apart, and it's like, I guess I'm not leaving. And then you
Mhm.
go back an hour later, pick up a flyer or whatever. There's your keys exactly where you put them.
That
So
drives
there's
me
little things
crazy.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So we thought it was just little, like it was just little things, right? But it was
Right.
annoying. Then what happened was, and I'd already split up with my husband by that time. We were still in the same house, obviously. Um, and what had happened was our my partner and I, our bedroom was in the basement. My boys were upstairs, and my boys were also experiencing activity. I want to back up too, ever since my eldest is now 28. When we moved in that home, he was 15 months old. And the moment he could talk, he would say, "Monster in my closet, monster in my closet." And he couldn't sleep in that bedroom. That bedroom was a dormant bedroom. He slept by the bedside and eventually took over my husband and I's old bedroom, and my new partner, and I were in the bedroom downstairs. It was about
Right.
11:30 at night one night, and I think it was like a Monday or Tuesday night, and we hear this crash, and we come running
Ooh.
upstairs. My eldest son meets me in the kitchen with my partner, and we're looking, what the heck just happened? We're looking all over the place. And I call it a curio cabinet. So it's like about 3 feet by 4 feet, had all
Mhm.
my most treasured things from childhood when I graduated as a nurse, like all little things that hung on a wall in the dining room. It was kind of an open concept,
Mm.
almost L-shaped dining room. It was in the middle of the floor in the living room. And we went, holy crap, how the heck did that get there? Like that was like about 12, 13 feet from where it was hanging. So we go look at the wall, and the one hook is in the wall. The other one on the left is in the wall, but it's bent. It's bent like, oh, sorry, they were like this. It was bent down. And I'm trying to bend it. I can't bend it with my hand. So we start
Mm.
looking around, like, what the heck happened? And the wall by where it hung was about 4 feet to the left. And there was an open space between, it was like the kitchen, dining room, and an open space.
Mm.
And the cabinet hung on the back of the cupboards into the dining room. The answer machine, caller ID, and portable phone looked like somebody had taken a scalpel and cut all the cords. So we figure
Oh.
it must have come off the wall, flew to the left. I don't know how it cut the cords because it would have had to drop about 4 feet and then ended up about 12 feet. So that way we figure it would have been about 17 feet from where it had originally been hanging by the time. So when
Oh
we
my
got to
God.
the curio cabinet, the hooks are still in the wall or in the cabinet. The glass is all broken on the front, the pieces are broken in the back, but the hooks are still there. And the one on the left is bent. You knew that had to come out of that wall with so much force.
Yes,
That's when we
yes.
had a problem. That was a game changer. That's when I started the research. That's when all this all started, because it just went from bad to worse after that.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I can't. Well, I can. I can't imagine it. I think, people see things on TV and they see a story and you see people, going through it and telling it and reliving it. But I think unless you go through it yourself, there really is no explanation that does it any kind of justice.
Well, I have pictures I've released to the public. I did bump it up so
Mhm.
my profile is open to the public, not like I'm trying to promote my profile, but I do
Right.
have a
Mhm.
copy of the episode from Paranormal Survivor. There's a link. I have a copy
Right.
of the pictures with description that we released,
Mhm.
because there's one of me with a handprint, looks like it's burnt into my chest. There were
Mhm.
bites, there were burns, there were scratches. Like I said, my partner's been thrown 15 feet across the kitchen into the cupboards with nothing there.
Mhm.
And he's a skeptic. Um, so I have that, and then I have the two sessions with the EVPs from 2017. It's a Halloween show, like I said, Jason
Mm.
show I called into 2018, and it
Yeah.
was called People by Name. All kinds of like this. This is a crazy story. The pictures, and
Mhm.
some of them I haven't released to the public, but a good portion I have.
Right. Right. And what's been your feedback?
Um, well, most people, I'll be honest with you, when I saw not that I'd lie to you, but the Paranormal Survivor episode, the first time I saw it, and I don't say this disrespectfully because I'm very grateful that they gave us the opportunity to share our story with
Yeah.
others,
Yeah.
but it didn't happen the way they showed it. And the girl that portrayed myself in the reenactments was just over the top. I'm sorry, she was, and I'm not like that.
Oh, I
And
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then what happened, the only thing that happened true to this story is the end of the episode. My partner almost died, and after that, it was usually me. One of us had to stay awake all night long to watch over the other three. I don't know
Wow.
if something was trying to go into his throat or whatever,
Right.
but like I said, I'm a nurse, and I have never seen something black. All I can describe was like ectoplasm coming out of him, out of his mouth, and he almost
Wow.
choked to death. Hmm.
Right. Right. I've heard that. I've heard these type of stories before. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. Um, Max says the actor who played Dell looked more like Jesus than Dell.
That's true. That's true, Zach. It is. It is. Like they had the actress that portrayed myself was doing this ballerina dance, like she was in a trance, and they made it all sound like it happened in a couple months. Like, but
Right.
they interviewed us for six hours, and I
Mhm.
really appreciate it. But we had no idea what they were going to put into it. They changed some details of the story because I did have somebody locally come and try and clear the house. And you guys, that's my one regret. I did not record this, and I'm not lying about it, but I am telling you, it was a beautiful 80-degree sunny day. And when she got to work, I didn't know her. She was recommended by a close friend of mine. And I
Mhm.
found out when she came in, I live in Thunder Bay, and it's not huge. It's 100,000 plus people. So I
Mhm.
found out I worked with her mom. Her mom was a secretary at one of the nursing agencies, and she'd recently passed away. So we
Oh.
really connected before she came in the house, but she told me, her guides told her, you were going to be in for the fight of your life. I swear to God to you, while she was trying to clear what was there was wind whipping around like clouds, like it was
Mhm.
like the weather changed. My heart rate
I
just felt
grew
like it
up in
was
that sort of
yeah.
situation. I feel you. It's
I know you
terrifying.
people are gonna think this is crazy. You've
No, but
probably
you have to
experienced it.
experience it. I grew up, I'd sit there, all of a sudden my hair would go like this,
Oh,
like not a whirlwind through the house, but so I can't I can relate to what you're saying, but not quite on that scale. It is terrifying. It is a fight for your life. I just want to address this. I always thought Paranormal Survivor was kind of cheesy and fake. Well, maybe cheesy, that's, personal opinion. Fake, I can
Not fake.
assure you, no. No. I mean, if I have handed in so many case files to the producers for families who wanted to tell their stories. And it's very difficult because you're still working with something that's called creative control, which nobody that goes on the show has. I spent 4 seasons with them and no creative control. However, the producers were really amazing with me,
They were
but
amazing. They were amazing.
they were really great. Yeah, but I can definitely tell you with great certainty, fake was absolutely not. What made it, I wish it could have changed it a little bit, is to maybe cover more details. But a lot of these stories, you're lucky if you got 20 minutes.
We did. We had a half hour, and
Yeah.
we weren't in the Toronto area where they were filming.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they had said, do you think you could come down? And I said, let me see if we can find a seat sale. Long story
Mhm.
short, she said, tell me your story. And she called me back 10 minutes later and said, yeah, you need to come. We're gonna, and they're
Yeah,
not a big budget show. They covered everything. So
they
we're
do.
really
Yeah.
grateful. And the thing was too, it's not fake. That's what I wanted to add. And I'm glad that actually this person asked that or mentioned it. Everything that we said in that episode was God honest truth.
Mhm.
So the people that are speaking in the interviews, God honest truth, what they're saying.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Oh, honestly, like there were quite a few of my own cases that went there. And I don't like to say cases because we're dealing with families. And every time I would hear them retell it from their standpoint, it would still just, every experience would humble me. Because even as a researcher, even as someone, because you've gone on to help people from your experiences, we all take chances. I can't tell you how many times I've been followed. I can't tell you how many times they have visited me before I've ever stepped foot in a
Hmm.
location. You know,
Absolutely.
I've had, things happen to family members. I've had things happen to friends. Nothing is off limits. They know everything about you, whatever they
Oh
are,
yeah,
whether
they
they
know your
be demons,
weaknesses.
whether they be extraterrestrials, whether they be other types of, dimensional or multidimensional beings. They are right on cue and they know what you're going to do before you know you're going to do it.
And they
So,
know all your weaknesses. I have met people who have said, and I'm sure you have too, well, I've never had, been touched during an investigation or really had much happen. I have had people say, send that, and I'm going to use the D word because that's what it called itself.
yes.
I'm still not
Yeah,
convinced.
yeah,
They said, send
absolutely.
that demon my way. I'll kick its butt. And I always had to say to them, you know what? Don't ever say something like that because you know what? They don't do what you want them to do. They go after things out of your control and they go
That's right.
after your health,
Yes.
finances, family members, children, especially. They find your weaknesses
Hmm.
and they
The
play on
weakest
it.
link always. Yeah.
And
No,
they don't
it's true.
forget you. That's why they know you, Michelle, or like myself. They don't forget you. They know who you are.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they do. I remember doing an interview, Midnight in the Desert, 4 hours. And, we get to watch the chat rooms. And one question that came through was, do you think they know who you are? And I just sort of laugh it off. And, I try to always stay on the humble side. I'm like, no, little old me, I'm not that important. And
Yeah,
there was
you
a
are.
medium. Yeah. Well, there was a medium in the chat. She goes, oh, they know very well who she is. And I just sort of, that sort of, I didn't even take that as a I took that as a like you don't want to really think about things like that because they hit you on so many different levels. And finance is a big one. And if you have, anxiety or depression, or you suffer from addiction of any sort, watch
Addiction
that
anytime.
get
Yeah.
amped up tenfold. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
And
And mhm. Go ahead. Sorry.
No,
No, all I was going to say, especially with addiction, and people don't realize this. And I
mhm,
have a theory. I have a theory that people say they do have addiction issues
mhm,
or
mhm,
alcohol, or they like to use it a lot. Maybe there's a lot of anxiety or depression. You may actually be very sensitive. I'm not saying you are, but it might be something
mhm.
to look at that you might be very sensitive to energy. And, it might help a lot of the issues to be able to, obviously, you're going to go to a medical professional, what have you. I'm not giving medical
Yeah,
advice here, but what I'm saying, I
right,
almost feel like
exactly.
these people are possibly meant to be doing something for the light, if you will. And then when you
Yes.
get the paranormal activity coming in, it's to keep you away from doing what you're meant to be doing.
Oh,
Hmm.
it's like, a train taking, or you're the train being taken off your rails. If I can't tell you how many times I've had distractions trying to derail my path, and it did get derailed. Sometimes you get put together with the wrong partner in the first place. Well,
Hmm.
you have a mega decades of that, and you come out and go, well, didn't see that one coming. you know, but
Yep.
but it happens, and like Wayne will look at me now and say, think back, if you wouldn't have been sidetracked, how much damage would you have done? But I went on, I had my family, and there's no mix. You can't mix children in the paranormal. Like I never liked it. I completely backed off from even my own intuition. I didn't bank on my children being like supercharged little intuitives, and
I
that sort
know
of
that's what happens,
right.
though, doesn't it? Like, I
And you're
get
just
things
like, oh,
coming.
damn it, and you kind of get sucked into it
Mhm.
whether you like it or not. So it's
Mhm.
like, oh, okay. But I think you do, you grow, you evolve, and you just take it all in, whether you like it or not. Some of it, it's horrific. I mean, if I've seen so many people just go through, I had it easy compared to what I see. Like when I see what you guys have gone through, um, when I see some of the people that I've worked, I had a woman, open the door and drop at my feet and just grab me, and like no pressure there, and I'm just like, okay, get up, it's okay. And she's just like,
Because people don't
they don't
realize.
know. No.
And I have dealt, and this is no disrespect, because I would call myself the buzzword, the light worker. I work within the
Yeah.
light too, as most of us
Yeah.
do doing this work.
I
But
100%.
what I find, and I love that you said that you try to remain humble, because we need to, because it's always spirits. It has a way to kind of remind you, give you a little kick in the butt if we get our heads too big about these things. But where
Oh,
I have a problem,
yeah.
and I don't
No room
say
for
this,
ego.
well, yes, but what I say with no disrespect is when I run into people who have never dealt with something negative, and then they'll tell people there's no such thing as evil, things like this. It's all in your head, it's all in your, and I can tell you, and it breaks my heart when people are told that, because I feel like it negates their experiences. They already feel
Mm,
crazy when you've had this kind of stuff coming at you that maybe you can't see, but you can feel it. I mean, there's
mhm.
horrible things, sexual assault things there. I mean, there's all
I've
kinds of
worked
things
with
that
people like
happen.
that. It's yeah, mhm, yep, I agree with you. I think it's wrong, for people to minimize someone else's experience. You're
I
not
agree.
there. That's the way it is. When I work, depending on the, belief system of the individuals I'm working with, for the Catholics, for example, it's
Mhm.
very hardcore. They want a lot of different things done before they approve anything.
Mhm.
I often will request 2 psychological assessments,
Yeah.
not 1, 2,
Yeah.
and I get them, and I need a letter of permission from the doctors, one of those doctors, to work with the family,
Mhm.
and I always get it. They're like, "Yeah," just because they believe, do whatever it is that's gonna make them feel better. They can't go off the medication, don't let them, don't encourage it,
Yeah.
and I sign off on that, and, you because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I play counselor. I mean, I've taken counseling just briefly, just to try to get an understanding of how to properly communicate with people, how to read body language, how to not say the wrong things, how to just really listen to
I
what
was
they're
just going
not
to say an
to what they're
active
not
listener.
saying, right?
Mhm.
So the reading in between the lines things. And when I've had researchers say there's no such thing as this. This is a religious thing. I'm like, and it very well could be. But to say to them, no, it's extraterrestrial, or no, it's a multidimensional. Yes, they all are multidimensional or interdimensional on one form or another. But their belief system tells them that it's demonic, not, whereas a ufologist might go, and that's a reptilian. Very well could be one of the same. But you see, my job is to help empower that person and to put them in control.
I
It's
hear what you're saying. Yeah, it doesn't
right.
matter what we call it, right? Tomato,
No.
tomato. As long as I got you on board, and
Yes.
I'm going to work with your belief system, because exactly what
Yes.
you said, empowering people. Hmm.
Yes. And that's what it's about. Putting how do you look at an individual who who's lost control? They don't know. Like, I've dealt with husbands trying to, because my role is to protect my family, and I can't see this,
I
and I
can't.
don't
Yeah.
know what to do, right? And like you guys, you were doing shift work. Like, who's staying up to watch the other three? Like, there's you're trying to make this work somehow. I'm not going to look at this person and just say, well, no, this is all in your head, or you can't do anything about it. Are you kidding? You're more powerful than anything that's out there, especially if you believe it. You just need to know what you're dealing with, and you need to be shown how powerful you are. You need to be put behind the driver's seat. Don't let something else get in the driver's seat, right?
That's the big thing, though, right? Because we're not led to believe that we're empowered. And it doesn't matter what level of life we're in, right? When
Right.
we were first born, we have parents. When we go to school, it's a teacher, it's a school system. When we have a job, it's a boss, unless you work for
Conditioning.
yourself. So
Yes.
people don't realize, that's one of my big things, is you don't have to have somebody tell you what to do.
Right.
There are certain rules and things you need to follow to live within a society,
Yeah.
but that's what I just love what you just said, to get people to believe in themselves and recognize that you can do this. You may need a little bit of instruction about how to do it, but
You need
to
to be
empower
educated.
individuals. So they can
Yeah.
deal with it, because I mean, there's always aftercare. I get this when we're dealing
Oh.
with individuals and families, but you eventually want them to be able to say, hey, I can do this, because once you stand up
Mhm.
and you are knowledgeable and you're not coming from a place of fear. And I always say there's a thin line between fear and standing in your power, because when you're
Mhm.
dealing with something you can't see, but you know it has the power to throw a 175, 180-pound man across the room, there's a thin line between standing your ground, right?
Yes, but you could
But
do
you
that too.
can.
You could do
But we
that too.
can.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. So I think people just have to have more faith in themselves. We're just going to hit some questions and comments. Here you
Yeah.
go.
Okay.
I'll let you take this one. What
Okay.
is your strongest ally when working in the field? From Adrian. Hello, Adrian.
My strongest ally, my show's called The Angel Rock, and I'm not trying to promote it, but the reason I call it that is because I love working with the archangelic realm and the higher beings, but my favorite probably would be Archangel Michael. I work very closely with him.
Right.
Um, for me, and I'm just like Michelle, I will work with whatever your belief system is, even if you don't have one. That's okay with me. But mine is God. So I very deeply connect with God, as well as Mother Mary. Has got my back.
Mhm.
May not
Mhm.
have much of a mom in the way of a physical one, but I'll tell you, she's got my back. So I would say
Mhm.
my guides as well.
Yes.
And also the belief in what we've been talking about, not from a place of ego or arrogance. It's the
Big
fact that,
one.
yes, I can do this, because I learned when we left our home that part of what this was, like I said earlier, I think this happened. I always say I wouldn't wish this on a blade of grass. Not that I'm any better than a blade of grass, but what I'm saying is I wouldn't wish this on anybody, but I don't look back in anger or hatred or anything like that, because I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Right.
Otherwise, I think it had to happen.
Right.
So
I
that's
agree
who I
with
work
you.
with as an ally.
I agree
Mhm.
with you. I think you've been meant to do this and you just needed to be shown why.
I would
I'm just
never
gonna
have done
have
it.
you like paranormally slapped around a little bit, Lorilei, till you get back on the
I
rails.
wanted to be a doctor. That was my plan.
Oh no, you're meant to
I
be a
always think
light
somebody else
worker,
had
you
a
know.
better plan for me. Yeah.
You're meant to be a light worker. And I think
Mhm.
people have to work. I always say, people say, well, you're able to do this with such ease. Why not work in light? I believe I do work in light. I do it through darkness. But I also do a lot of planetary work and a lot of energy work and a lot of like earth work,
Yeah, I
universal
do too.
work.
Mhm.
Working
I
with
have
ley
a group
lines
I
and
work with.
working with animals. And whereas,
Mhm.
you can tap in and you can just like, I love doing planetary stuff with other
Mhm.
people. It's just so exciting. And it's a big difference from working, the other side. So it's for me, that's like downplay a little bit, but I love it. Hey, Chris, you're always so complimentary. I don't think you realize how much your opinions and thoughts matter. You carry great weight and help people see things. Thank you. But it can
Thank you.
also work against you as well because Laura, maybe this is something because I don't do readings like it's not
Mhm.
like I've done them. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you just
Mhm.
have a spirit nagging at you, just saying, say this, say this. I'm like,
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
right. And I say it, then that's the end of it. But
Mhm.
people who come for readings sometimes and guidance will hang on every little thing you say. It's why I don't do it because maybe it's selfish. I just don't want the responsibility because
Mhm.
I work with such a heaviness a
You're
lot.
called somewhere else to work. That's where your
Yes,
light's needed. Mhm.
right. And they hang on everything that you say. And sometimes
Mhm.
that can work against you. Like you really have to be careful with that,
I
right?
I do my readings a little differently. Like if over the last few years I haven't had the amount of time to be able to go live and say do one question reading, but when I do a reading with people, I used to like segment Akashic Records readings and Crystal Reiki is a separate thing that I do. But with any of the things that I do with readings now, I call it all in. I bring it all in. I do a
Right,
lot of teaching. It's almost a
right.
lot of
This is
counseling, like
great.
what you said, coming from the other side. I never tell somebody what they need to do. I sort of find out what's the issue, why you're coming to see me. I always tell them,
Mhm.
don't tell me your whole story. I don't want to know it. The least amount I know, the better. And I know it's coming
Right,
from spirit. But like, I'll take something for example. Say somebody having a relationship problem, and I'll tell somebody right up front, like a lot of people approach and say, from a hurt heart, and I get it. Like, why did they break up with me? What's going on with
mm,
them? Are they seeing so and so? Are they whatever? And I'll just tell them, you know what, I'm the wrong person for you because could I go
right,
into your ex's energy? Yes. Would I? No. That's like
right.
breaking into somebody's house. So I always say, let's look at what you can take from the relationship. So I let the person I'm doing the reading with do most of the work because the work is for
Mhm.
them. So I'm just sort of there again, if you will, connecting, making the
So
connection.
again, yeah, you guide through and let them
Yeah.
make that decision. I think that's wonderful because I'll tell you, like I learned the hard way. People who are regulars on the show have heard me say this. You know, I was always highly intuitive from a very, very like childhood. And I
Yeah.
remember my very best friend coming up to me, and she was like 18 years old. And I want to know if my boyfriend's cheating on me. Well, you're my best bud, man. Yeah, I'm your wingman. Yes, he is. I just put it out there.
Well, yeah.
No tact, people. That's what no
Yeah.
tact is. And
Mhm.
she tried to take her life. And that
Oh my
that
gosh, Michelle.
that's what the humbling thing was. I was like, it's almost like the universe went, there you go. And after that, it was like,
Oh,
okay, this is not for me. I know. So you see, like
I
we
just
all come
got
from a
I
place of,
just got goosebumps and I
right?
got
I
tears
still
because
do. I still do because this is what I mean when people will
oh
will look at us with and hang literally on everything, every
mhm,
word. And it's like you can't. I've tried to
mhm,
tell people, you can get a reading, but every day you take a different path and your destiny changes. The generic stuff will remain the same, but some of
mhm,
your choices, you may not get that job today if you were late in traffic over here
mhm.
and you took this
Yeah.
road instead. And like our
That's why I
paths
don't like to do
change.
predictions. Apparently,
Yeah,
I have,
see?
though, and I've
Yeah.
gotten some feedback. I got one of the
Yeah.
nicest compliments. I think it was on Thursday night. It was somebody apparently I did a reading for, one of my free one question readings, and they had said it was back in 2017, and they said it had changed their life. And I
Oh, it's
appreciated that.
nice.
No, but we went back, we went on and on about it, David and I, my co-host, because I said
Yeah.
we really appreciate the feedback, but normally I don't like to do
Right.
predictions. And the reason
Right.
why is exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
As I see it now, but it doesn't mean you're going to be on that same path. Like exactly what you said, you just said that path can
Yeah.
change timelines all the time, and we don't even
It's
realize.
true. It's true. But that's what makes it exciting.
Mhm.
Okay, one second. Where the heck am I? Lost my thing here. Okay. My complimentary friends. I love you all.
I
People highly
think there
respect
must
you
be
and
spirits
consider
in my
us.
house because everything that could have gone on, you guys, I'm sorry having to hold my phone. Usually I use my computer,
Just
but you
holding
know
on to
what's going to
everything.
happen.
I love it though. You never know what's going to happen on our shows here on
No,
United Public Radio Network.
never know.
Agree with Chris. You're greatly
ABCs.
respected. Advice and opinions are valued. Thank you. Thank you. Um, this goes back as well. She says, try to put your fear aside. This is what we were talking about before. Chris is what in the old days was called a wise woman, a healer, medicine woman, shaman, priestess, good witch. Oh, I've been probably that and more. You
Yeah,
know,
me too. Definitely.
right? I
Mhm.
do believe that the essence does hold all of your memories, all of your abilities, everything. It's not so much the physical. That's just, it's like your
I have
car.
the
It would be like your
strangest
car holding all of your, like,
I have
no.
the strangest stories with synchronicities that have connected me to past lives, including the fairy realm. That there, I have a recording
Yes.
from. It's crazy, this story. I don't know if it's true or not, but I definitely know I was a witch at least once, if not many times.
I know. Me too. I had somebody
Yeah.
tell me in a past life that I was, and I got stabbed in the back of the head.
Oh
This was my
wow.
demise, and when I often I now and then I'll get a headache, and it's right on the back of my head. I'm like, "Bastards. Let me
I
at them.
think
Can
I
I reverse that
drowned.
energy somehow or what?"
I think I drowned in my past life, my last past life. I think I drowned.
Right,
I'm positive.
right.
Mhm.
I'm sure I mean, I'm sure that one of us somewhere in our million lives,
We've
because I mean,
probably
some
done
of
it
us just
all.
don't get it, We keep coming back. So, Knight says a question. You take this one, Laura Lee. Questions: have you ever encountered an evil practitioner?
Where do I start?
Go
I'm
for it,
sorry.
Laura Lee.
I don't
Yeah.
mean that to be rude, but I just had this conversation with somebody recently,
Oh,
and
synchronicity.
I'm almost feeling like spirituality is being inserted where religion is inserted. And I'm not saying religion is a bad thing. That's not what I'm saying.
Right, right.
But some people need it, whatever vehicle you need to help each other walk ourselves back home again, basically, as I call it. But yeah, I've met evil practitioners, many, and I have met many person that's newly spiritually awakened has literally said, wrote in comments, wrote in messages, I thought because it said light worker that they were going to be a really loving, kind person. And I'm not trying to sound judgmental here, but I think you really have to do your homework. Like when I'm mentoring people, I strongly suggest they work with different mentors, find
Mhm.
people that resonate with you,
Yes.
find people that are specific for the job. Like Michelle and I do completely different work. But a lot of things are the same, but can we talk all
That's
things
right.
paranormal? Yes. But
Yeah.
people don't trust that inner voice and they don't trust their gut, if you will, their intuition. If
But
there's a
they
little
don't
red
know where
flag or
they're
an
is that really my higher self telling me this? Or is it just am I just talking to myself in my head? That's a big
mhm,
one, right?
mhm. But if you
So
feel something like it, when you said an evil practitioner, um, depends how you define evil too. But if you find somebody that maybe is not doing it from a place of love or service, and I don't say that egotistically, but we have met people like that. I know we all have.
mhm.
You might want to maybe look for somebody else, because I mean, let's face it, how many stories have we seen in the news about people being taken for millions of dollars by somebody who keeps saying, you got to come back because you got a curse, I got to remove it, right? So,
And you know what? That's a big one. We often get requests. I'm, I'm cursed. My family's cursed. Can you look into it? And realistically, and here's, you can chime in on this as well, Lorilei, but I'm
mhm,
of the mind, I'm of two minds with this. One,
mhm,
of course, is again, I'm a big logical mindset person. Do you believe you're cursed? Do
mhm,
you believe that somebody else could just put their intention on? Intention is very strong, which is why I'm
mhm.
thinking, okay, if the intention is strong enough, then somebody could do some damage. However, if your intention is stronger and your belief system and your mindset is stronger, I've had people say, "Oh, I'm gonna curse you." I'm like, "Well, you can, yeah, you can try, but
Good
you know,
luck.
switch that
Oh,
up on you a little bit and,
I got lots to say about this one, because we were
go for
told
broke,
that. We
girl."
were told so many different things why this happened to us with this paranormal experience. A big one was a curse on my mom's side, and blah, blah,
Right,
blah, blah, blah.
right.
I never bought into that a lot, but where I'm going to go with this is there's two things. First of all, some of the work that I do, I believe that and I know you're going to agree 100%, our words, our thoughts, and our emotions are some of the most powerful things we have. And we don't
Yes.
realize that. And if you don't believe it, how many of you have heard about the placebo effect, right? So I always use the example. God forbid you have
Yes.
somebody that's at the end stage of their life. There's nothing else medically that can be done, but the doctor says to them, there's an experimental study. And if you get the actual drug, there's like such a huge success rate, right? So the person signs up, they
Yeah,
believe wholeheartedly they're getting this drug. They believe it, okay? And they are
right,
cured. And then you
right.
look back at the studies unblinded, guess what? They got the placebo. You think that was a miracle, or do you think maybe it was the power of their mind believing so strongly? And
That's
there's
right.
so much evidence, even to the
Mhm.
fact that I came back. I went to a retreat years ago with a group I used to belong to. And the person I knew that I met in person was working with some evil things, I found out. When I came back, I had a lot of bad things happen. I broke my ankle on air. Thank God I wasn't on
Mm.
camera. Apparently, I turned green. All of us could see each other behind. I didn't say anything. I
Wow.
had a bunch of things in my house break. I mean, I had my tire go flat. And I thought, did he curse me? I swear to God, I heard my guy say, do you really believe that crap? Like have that conversation, because I'm very clairaudient, and I realized I'm only cursed if I believe he's cursed. So if you did send something,
See,
buddy, I'm
that's
not gonna
exactly
take
what
that
I'm
to the
saying.
sender. And guess
Yeah,
what? It
because
all stopped. Mhm,
see, and this is what we've done with people who have messaged. It's all I've ever done is done an energy reversal,
mhm.
and I'll smack it
I
back
did
wherever
it
it's coming
myself.
from.
I did it
I'll, I'll,
myself. I
I'll
didn't send
I'll put you
anything
on
with
your
it.
ass, but
Mhm.
yeah, but
I didn't
but
send anything
that's
with it. I just said,
yeah,
dude, not on my watch. It's going right
yeah.
back to you. And what we put out comes back to us. Mhm.
Oh,
It did.
100%. So you have to be careful with that energy reversal. Chris, you always make me laugh. Michelle be like, "You want to curse me? Hold my beer." Yeah,
Oh
well,
my dear, I like
don't
that
think I
one.
haven't done that, but not so much just with cursing. So anyway, uh,
That
feel
was
sorry for
awesome.
anybody who tries to curse me. They will regret many lifetimes. Oh, Wayne could probably tell you a few stories about that. Not now, but So Wayne
Actually,
said,
somebody asked. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
"Oh no, I was
Go
just
ahead.
going to read this. You go ahead."
No, I was just going to say, I think there was a question earlier. Somebody had asked about nursing experiences.
Oh, yeah, I'm
I
gonna go
think it was
back.
Unite.
That's what I said. We get talking and the things go. Guys,
It was
I mean,
Unite.
you all
But
know the
that's
drill, right? We have like right now, because we're on Roku TV, no chat room, but there's like 7 chat rooms in here. So let me go in there. Was it can
Night.
I
It was Night. But I wanted you to
oh
share
here
what
it is.
Lady said too.
Whoo, I found it. I can't believe it. Can we
Woohoo!
hear one of your stories about when you were a nurse, Lorilei,
Mhm.
especially one that you would never forget, please?
Oh
That's a
God.
good question. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell you guys something really like I'm not kidding. I have a neighbor. This isn't a nursing story quite, but there is one I will tell you. But very quickly, I've been in this place almost 4 years. Nobody talked till we moved in here. Everybody's best buddies now. Everybody talks, and it's really awesome, right? So there's this man that goes by all the time. They never talk to anybody. They were really crotchety older people, and they're so
Right.
sweet. They just needed someone to talk to them. Anyways, I kept looking at him going, God, I know that man. God, I know that man. Wouldn't you know it? My youngest son has severe autism. And everybody in the neighborhood knows him, and they just adore him. So he came over to visit their cat, and I was
Right.
with him. And he looked down at the license plate and he asked, and it had the person's last name. Because some ask people what their last name is. If you want to tell me, he'll tell me.
Right.
Anyways, we go, oh, that's so and so's, meaning the gentleman's name. And I went, oh, holy crap. I looked after
Right.
his dad. I looked after his dad when I was a nursing student for 4 years. Okay. So just made that connection today. But as a nurse, I
Right.
used to work a lot of nights. I can't tell you the amount of patients I have had that have had near-death experiences, been there during the
Mhm.
resuscitation, knew them before, and then telling me afterwards.
Mhm.
Absolutely, they witnessed the whole thing. I've studied near-death experiences actually for over
Mm.
40 years, professionally and
Right.
personally. But there's two
Right.
I have to tell very quickly. I was on nights, listened to a report, and I had 60 patients on one side, another nurse would have
Wow.
60 on the other side. So would have been the last room I checked, and I heard literally something in my ear, you need to go in that room right now. And I walked in as the person was just keeling over. I had to call a crash cart, call the whole thing. That was crazy. The
Wow.
other one, and again, these may not seem that extraordinary, but you got to think 60 people, and there are people I would have to give meds to, turn stuff. I wouldn't have gotten in that room for over an hour. Like to hear right
Wow.
away, and he would have been the last one because I would have went all the way down the hallway and all the way up. I knew right to walk in there right there then. There was
Right.
another lady because I became a nurse not to do all the technical stuff. I loved it. I've worked critical care, but I love people. So
Mhm.
nights was always nice because if people couldn't sleep, I'd go spend time with them.
Yeah,
And
it's nice.
there was one lady, she was in from a rural community 3 hours away, and she was set to leave in the morning. She was so excited, she really couldn't sleep, and she had come in like 3 weeks before with abdominal pain. They really couldn't find
Right.
anything wrong with her. Lo and behold, she rings the call bell, and as I'm going down there, I'm thinking, "What's going on?" As I one look at her and I went, "Oh, this isn't gonna be good." But she really couldn't tell me anything. Long story short,
Right.
as I'm starting to walk in the room, she had an aneurysm that blew. Let me tell you, it was not pretty to see, but my whole thing
Oh.
was, had she got on that bus the next day, and I'd already called the doctor and stuff. So, like I say, it's not like did I see ghosts? Because yes, I've seen lots of crazy things in hospitals, believe me.
Mhm.
But
Right.
it was, I think, spirit working with us, if you will, good ones, to be in the right place at the right time is where I'm going with it.
Wow. Yeah, well, they will get you to be exactly where you need to be and when you need to be there. And with that being said, I now have to do a station and sponsor ID. So for those of you just tuning in, you are listening to the Outer Realm Radio with myself, Michelle Desrochers, and my very special guest and friend, Lorilei Potvin. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO, Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans, fully sponsored by amazing people over at Folgers. So go out, get some Folgers. So thank you,
Awesome.
Folgers. We appreciate you so much. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, for his contribution of his time and his music and his voice for our intro. He's an award-winning composer of horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite platforms. Big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist, again, behind our banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. And with that being said, guys, I have to do my job. See, all this is fun, but I have to do my job, and we have to play some more promo. So here's a couple more for you. Here we go.
Hey there. It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The News on the Flip Side, in the category of politics and news. News on the Flip Side is a much different news and political program which is not deemed as opinion news. Listen as Joe Montaldo brings to you just the facts from trusted sources which will allow you, the people, to make up your own minds on the various stories being reported on. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate News on the Flip Side in the category of politics and news. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and do it now.
It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in 3 categories: education, storyteller drama, and art. For 4 years, the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast has provided advice and tips from international best-selling authors, world-class artists, contest judges and winners, and industry professionals based on the world-famous Writers of the Future contest created in 1983 by L. Ron Hubbard to help the aspiring writer and artist no matter their age. It is dedicated to the future of storytelling and art by showing that it is never too late to start, and those who make it are those who never give up. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in any or all of the 3 categories: education, storyteller drama, and art. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and go out and vote now.
I voted. Have you guys voted? I voted for everybody. How about that? So there we go.
That's my cat in the background. Somebody thought it was an EVP. I think no, it was my cat.
It's the cat trying to get its 5 minutes of fame. So do I speak French? Not very well. I used to speak fluent French. I can still hold my own. My son laughed at me because we were in we were in Paris. This happened to me twice. I was in Paris, 1 year, and my friends like, just go ahead and talk French. Okay, I might sound like a bit of a farmer, but I'll give it a whirl, right? So I held my own. But then I went back with my son. We were in the south of France, different again, because they're very different, just to be clear on on the way they speak, some of them. And I went in, I thought it did exceptionally well. My son looks at me with a straight face and went, we're never going anywhere with you speaking like this. Well, how about you try, man? I was teaching my own damn French class because I spoke better than my French teacher, but I am French. Believe it or not, I am.
Too.
I didn't
you
just
said
marry.
my name properly. My last name. Most people don't pronounce it with the French. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes,
well, this is just like a married name. I just became a professional and so I had to keep it. But even my maiden name, which I will not say, it's this whole other
is my
thing.
maiden name.
Yeah. So anyway,
I had a hyphenated name. I had a hyphenated name, so I can use both of them when I got married. So.
Right. Oh no, I didn't go down that road. Thank you, Jade. I appreciate you. That's wonderful.
And Chris Phoenix, you're right. Canadian French and France French are completely different. They certainly are completely different.
Yes, believe me, and that was pointed out to me on at least 2 different occasions on 2 trips.
Did you learn Parisian? I learned Parisian French in high school, though it wasn't Quebecois French.
No, it was Parisian French. I mean, that's what they teach, and they're very patient. When you go in and I'm speaking away, and the woman's going. Thank you for being patient. My son's like, oh, face palm.
I have a lady I met in a chat, like on group on Messenger. I was added to. It's like independent podcasters type group, right? And she only speaks French. So I spoke some French back to her. I'm sure she was laughing because I voice message because I talk to a million people. So my phone has a possession. It writes the wrong thing all the time. And she's like, oh, it's wonderful. I'm going, oh, please. It is really rusty. Like exactly 14. I could speak it like English.
Oh, yeah. Now you're like, now I sound like a
glass of wine, and I don't drink very often.
Oh my gosh. No kidding. I just sit there like, mind you, I have to say, I did an entire EVP session, 2 different occasions in French. Once was just, at a location not far from here, Niagara on the Lake, and they had, there was a spirit speaking French. So I went in there and held my own, like amazingly. It was a great EVP session. And I did another one when I was at Rennes-le-Château in the south of
Oh,
France. And I went in and started speaking in French. And then when I got home, I'm like, God, that was really good. I don't think I understand it all anymore. It's like somebody must have channeled me and I spoke proper French and I
I
got
just
back and I'm
thought
just like,
that, Michelle. I just thought that. I just literally thought that. Like, I wonder if someone was channeling.
yes, I am almost bloody well guessing that I was channeled because it was just a beautiful EVP session
It
and
just
the proper
flowed, right?
rolling
Like,
of the
it just flowed.
R's and yeah, you know. And after that, I got home. I'm like,
Where did that come
is
from?
that me? I know. That surely can't be me. You know, my son's like, is that you?
Who are
Yes,
you? What did
apparently
you
it was
do
my
with my
voice
mother?
anyway. I know, but I will take it. I will take it, you know. Wayne says, because Wayne's British, so that's the only thing we're kind of polar opposite on. No proper British English, just a bunch of plunkers.
Oh, he's really going to give us the English slang, is he?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like wanker and all, you know. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, come on, you know. And with Zach, when I speak a little Spanish, I know I get all the looks. They call me a gringo. I know they're talking about me.
I have two friends that are from Canada, but they used to winter in Mexico and come back in the summer. But with the change that we've gone through, they've moved permanently down there, and they still really can't speak a lot of Spanish because and one of them, she's British actually. So when I hear
Right.
her, she doesn't do too bad, but even being down there for quite a few years, it's still not completely bilingual.
Oh my
They call her
God,
gringo.
right?
Mhm.
Oh, I know. You know, in Canada, they'll say, okay, well, you need to be bilingual. Well, that could be very, very challenging. Can you be more specific? Or version of
You know
French,
where
would you
I'd like
like?
to go? You know where I
Yeah.
would like to go because I didn't know about the paranormal back then. Mind you, my ex-roommate, I'm not ex-roommate, I mean, she's married and I got married kind of thing and moved on, right? We're still friends though. When I started telling her that I'm now working as a psychic and medium and healer and stuff, and I thought for sure she's gonna go, "Oh God, I don't want to hear this. Like, Laura, have you like fallen
Ah,
off your rocker kind of thing?" You know what she said to me? I'm not surprised at all. And I said, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah, when we lived together, Laura, you would know things all the time. I'd never know how you knew them. Like, I had no idea about this." Anyways,
right.
off track a little
Right.
bit. I went to Quebec on a French exchange for a month. That's how I became totally English, French, bilingual, totally. And they spoke no English. I lived with this family, and then she came here for a month. But, anyways, I went there, and it was like going to a different country. Every time I've been to Quebec and the history, and I'm sure you're going to tell me you've been there, but I can only imagine
Mm.
investigating some of the places down there in old Quebec.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so
Have you
old.
investigated there?
I've not investigated, but I have consulted on
Mhm.
different you know, media stuff there. So I was able to get some of the lowdown on some of the locations. And I know I've had family down there. So it's like, why don't I just go visit family or something? You know, I have
Yeah.
friends and family all over the world. Everyone's like, why don't you just come down
Yeah.
and visit? And you know, and people say, like, you've been to so many different parts of the world. Have you actually ever investigated anything? And I'm like, no, because I don't. I have got amazing paranormal experiences that have happened to me in different parts of the world, but I don't go just to investigate. The only time I really got full on into it was the haunted forest in Romania,
I
like my
knew you were going
working
to say that. I was
vacation.
just going to ask
It's
you.
true. It's true. We did because how do you not? You know, like
That
I'm
was
in Transylvania,
crazy.
freaking I'm in Romania. Of course, I'm going to investigate everything I can. But yeah, that was the
That was
full on.
crazy, some of the stuff I've heard from your trip there with all of you. Holy cow.
Oh my God. It was amazing though. You know, we went in like, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And not even, I think it was a little bit before
Mhm.
that, because we just want to get our bearings and we went in and it's like, oh, this is good. You had a little picnic and then I had a nap. So people are like, what's wrong with you? I don't
Mhm.
know. I was very comfortable, you know, but
Mhm.
realistically, what I was doing was listening, just
Mhm.
listening and absorbing the energy, grounding, because I'm
Yeah.
laying in the circle, you know, and I'm just all kinds of crazy, crazy things in that place. I mean, that's a whole other, I mean, that's a show in itself. But at the end of the
Uh-huh.
day, right, it was a phenomenal experience. I would definitely, we investigated it. Definitely a place I would go back. I'm sure I left a piece of myself. I always leave a piece of myself everywhere I go. Because if I went there in the first place, it's because there was something that drew me to it, you know. And then when I was in the south of France, I did some time and investigated a little bit
I'm
there, but
so drawn to there. Rennes le Chateau. I had
it was phenomenal.
author. Well,
Phenomenal.
I had an author from Ireland, and he had written the true history of Oliver Cromwell versus what the belief system is about him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he says to me after one show, he goes, Lorilei, have you ever heard about the Da Vinci Code? I go, the Da Vinci Code? Oh my goodness, let's talk. So
Yeah.
we did a few shows on that. And it was fascinating because he had investigated and I believe worked as a caretaker for a bit too with Rennes le Chateau. So he knew so much. And that place is
Yeah.
so full of mystery. I want to go there so badly. Like he
It's an
was telling me
incredible
all
place.
the
It was an old
anomalies.
Roman fortress in the 1300s. You're going back to the time of the Merovingians. I know all kinds of stuff about it, but I've also had family lines out there. Like I had found out through just researching that this one specific town in the northern France, the townspeople who my family came from, on my mother's father's side, this is where they came from. My grandfather went back there, in World War II, and he stayed there for a while because that's where our roots were. We have like family crests, everything. Like a lot of Templars came from there, right? And I found out that some of the townspeople, several in fact, saved money and bought up land all around Rennes Chateau. Why?
Wow.
What for? Like to me, this is like something that I was like, that's very fascinating to me. Why would anybody do that? Go so far south and they all bought up land around it. Like it was very important.
They must have, maybe
It
there's
was
something
important
we
enough for them
knew.
to do it. Yeah,
Mu
right?
There must have been something behind it that maybe they didn't share with other people.
Yeah,
Well, the reason
yeah.
why I learned French, my dad is one of 17 children, good French Canadian Roman Catholic family, right? Apparently, my grandmother was pregnant every year for 25 years.
I had a
And
great
even
grandma
that,
like that. Yep. Yeah,
yeah,
French
French
Canadians.
Canadian. So
Yeah.
yeah, so my grandfather said to all the grandkids, I have about 150 cousins, as I'm sure probably you do with big family like that. And he said,
Mm,
whichever one of my grandchildren learn how to speak French, I will take you to Europe to go to France. And my
right.
grandmother, on my dad's side, is from Belgium.
Wow.
So I
Yeah.
that's why I was going. I was going. I said I
I'll
was
learn
going to
French just
see.
so I can go. I
He
know.
died before I could.
Darn
To
it.
talk
I've been
about.
chipped. I know.
But you
I've
know
been
what's
chipped.
ironic? My
Yeah.
grandmother, and I think it's such a shame, not being judgmental, but my grandfather had such a heavy French accent. He was
Right.
from, I think it was Virgin Bay in Ontario. And my grandmother spoke, which is now a dead language, Flemish from
Yes.
Belgium.
Yes.
No other language other than English was allowed in the home.
Hmm.
So, lo and behold, what language do they use in Belgium? Mainly French. So I would
Right.
have to go and translate letters from the old country for my grandmother because I was the only one who
Right.
could read and write and speak French. So it wasn't all for waste.
Yes, I love it. So I love that. And man, oh man, like you forget your roots and where I mean when your European roots. And for me,
Mhm.
I waited, I think too late in life to, well, not really. I mean, I've spent the last 5 years doing it and stuff. And I've been peeved off if I can do French and not get my trip. But I did do my trip eventually. And Kat says, "Oh, I'd love to go to Greece and Egypt." I've been to Greece, I've been
Me
to
too.
Egypt, I've been to so many fantastic, fantastic places, and I love the history. But I find, there's just certain places I get drawn to places because of past lives. I get drawn to places because of my lineage, and And I think traveling is one of the best things you can do to spend your money on.
I do
Experiences,
too.
memories, and I've
Well,
always
plus,
done it.
plus, there's many people that never leave their own backyard and they have no idea the beauty, the culture, the history, so many things all around the world. I agree. Travel is one of the best things.
Right. Oh, for sure. And you get to, I always say in like really old places or haunted places. We stayed at the base of Bran Castle. We stayed at a villa not far from Bran Castle when we were
Ooh.
there. And Melissa and I stayed in one room, and Audie stayed in another room with another traveling companion with us. And 7 a.m., which was ungodly bloody hour ever, and bloody hell. So I'm sleeping, and just so everybody knows, like with Melissa, a freight train could go through the room and that girl would not wake up. So anyway, I hear right in my ear, really loud, Michelle, really loud like
Oh,
that. I just was stroked out. Okay, I was like,
yeah.
what the hell was
Because you
that?
weren't expecting
Are we?
it. Never mind at 7 a.m.
Yeah, right. I wake up, guns are blazing, and I look at the time. I'm like, oh, I'm just so mad. I look at
Really?
Melissa, and Melissa's like, I'm like, what the heck was that now? Like, who's like, who dares to disturb my slumber at 7 a.m.? But
Exactly. How dare
right,
you?
I
Mhm.
know. So sometimes I know looking for the experiences, they just find you because
They
you're
usually
there.
do find you, but I have this. I always say, Spirit gave me the image of how everything on the other side, they don't use names. I know when I first started reawakening to my own gifts, first question we always want to ask is, when's my third eye going to open? Who are my angels and who are my guides? But they
Right.
gave me the vision of on the other side, they don't use names, it's energy. And so they said if they were looking across, if you will, the veil, it's like little tiny little pinpricks of light, right? Everybody that's alive and living, breathing on
Yeah.
the planet, but people
Right.
that utilize their gifts, that are aware of them, that know that they can communicate with both sides. They gave me the picture of those old horror movies. You're driving down this dark highway, there's no lights, all of a sudden big flashing
Yeah.
vacancy sign, and they said
Nice.
it's the positive, but also we live in a duality, right? So negative can
It's
also
true.
see you, so they're going to
It's
find you.
true. Yes, it's true. I believe it. I believe that like big time. Does energy feel different in these places because they have such old history compared to our young Canadian history? Absolutely. Absolutely. Not so much that our country isn't technically as old with, civilizations. I mean, they're finding all kinds of things here that show pre-ice age monuments. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that. Oh, for crying out loud!
I'm
Most
reading
people,
right now.
I'll get to it or not. Um, they actually found a Stonehenge type structure in Lake Michigan, I believe, and they found
I
carvings of
bet.
mastodons in the rocks under the water. So there is a lot of pre-ice age history here. There's a lot of ancient civilizations here as well. But technically speaking, when you go to Europe, there are many more wars because you have a more like the cultures were different and they were already like full swing. Things are, I won't say peaceful. I mean, we had a lot of people warring with each other, but it's a whole different cup of tea. And the energy definitely, it's different, but it's also beautiful. Everywhere you go. I mean, I love some of the energy here. But I'm an old soul, and I gravitate to, and I think because I do have memories of my past lives. They come through. I know a lot about myself, and I've worked with some of the best mediums in the world, who will just say, "Hey, blah blah blah." I'm like, really? So, you know, so it's really interesting. But I've learned a lot that way, and it's just this nice validations, isn't for you?
That's a
There you
great
go.
question.
There you
Have I
go. Take it
ever
away.
Okay,
Yeah.
Adrian Tobin asks, have you
Yeah.
ever encountered a happy haunting with elated spirits and ghosts? I want to say, yeah, I have. I don't think it's that uncommon. Like, I mean, it's not just negative. I will tell you, I always joke though, because I have heard stories, not often, but there have been hauntings where people have had a I don't know if it's grandma or mom or something, the energy in their home, they'd come home from work and say their laundry was not folded, it would be folded or put away. And I'm going, those are the kind of spirits we all would love to have, like just lived happily
Yes.
together. So it's not uncommon. It's not like there's all this evil lurking in the dark. The same thing, people seem to think that 3
And I think
a.m.
it's
is the only
important
time
that
that,
you're stressing that.
yeah, they seem to think like at 3 a.m., like it's so dark and that's when it's going to happen. I'm telling you guys, and Michelle's going to back me up on this, there's a heck of a lot more that goes on in the daytime, but we have a false sense of security, I think, and we don't notice it. There's all kinds of noises all over.
It's
Many
true.
things go on. You
No,
just don't see.
I agree. I agree. And I also think if people relaxed a little bit more, and I'm sure you'll agree as well, that they could live quite pleasantly, have
Yeah,
pleasant existence with these spirit people. Wayne and I did at the
I
manor.
know
I
you
mean,
did. Yes,
we
yes.
had amazing experiences. We would just, people would come to film or hang out, and we'd be just like, okay, well, partake if you want to, don't if you don't want to. Our spirits like full on, like, oh, we'll give you a show, dropping, doing stuff we've never seen,
I
dropping coins
remember your
from the
clock.
ceiling. We're like, we don't
Or
ever
your
get that.
clock that had no batteries that kept ringing. Remember that one?
It was a
Like
wind-up clock.
yeah,
It was a
yeah.
wind-up clock.
Oh,
It was
that's
an
what it was. It was
antique
a wound up.
wind-up with a key. Yeah. And that night it was going off. I'm sitting there going, there it is. I know.
I was on one of the paranormal panels we did, and it kept
It was, and that
ringing.
stupid clock was just banging away in the background, bing, bing, bing. And I'm just like,
Plus, I say to
I haven't
people,
on in 2 years. I know, right?
well, I
But
say to people too that, think about yourself. There are people that choose many
who's
reasons why
alive?
they do not cross over. Okay.
Yeah,
So the thing
yeah,
is, what would you do if you chose to remain in your home? Or maybe you didn't realize you've passed. There are people that
mm,
happens to, you don't realize they've passed away. What would you
right.
do? Some strangers start moving in your home, moving all your stuff, and then they start tearing your house apart and renovating, right?
Oh my
What would you
God.
do to get them out?
Absolutely.
Maybe just need a medium to communicate and find out what's their issue. Can we live peacefully together? Or do you
And
need
that's
some
what we
help? Or
do. Well, a lot of times it's like, for example, I'll say for argument's sake, Fred likes to hang out in this room every day at 3 o'clock.
yeah,
All the kids come running in there at 3 o'clock and disturb Fred. Fred gets annoyed, blah, blah, blah. A medium comes in and says, okay, Fred just likes his space at 3 o'clock. He only wants to be in there for an hour. Then that's it. Can you
yeah,
keep the kids out of there? Okay.
yeah,
Fred's happy. Kids don't get bugged. Everybody lives happily after. It
yeah.
really is that simple. Wayne says,
Mhm.
we used to turn the clocks off, which meant stop all the pendulums and let the spring wind down before film crews showed up because the ticking played havoc with the microphones. It's true. We silenced like literally everything in the house, and that's pretty much so when
You
that thing
guys had a
started
lot.
going
I
off.
remember a lot. When we would do our paranormal panels, especially, you'd have little things going off. Or like I was producing on Friday, we would
Yeah,
give Carrie Lynn a shout out because
I
that
know.
was so cool. Because I don't think I would have
Spirit
caught this.
Switchboard, 5 p.m. Eastern every Friday. Check her
Yeah,
out. And
I
before
had
that,
my
the Allens
headphones.
Investigate. Go ahead.
Oh, right. Alan did that. Of course. We love all our hosts here. We're like
We
one big
do. We
family. We
do.
really are. And I had headphones on. I don't think I would have heard it because I don't think Carrie Lynn did. And she had Rick McCallum on. And
Right.
I don't think they heard it. But I did because I didn't want to disturb the rest of the people in my house. And I was listening. And I was about 4 feet away from the phone. And I heard,
Yeah.
sounded like somebody sucking something up with a straw. And I'm looking,
That
what the heck?
was an amazing recording. You guys should go check it out. Go look at last week's archive.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. And you know
So
what?
it happens.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
But
it
it
was right when
happens.
Carrie Lynn asked Rick, have you ever had an attachment?
Grrr. See, you
Yeah.
never know when it's going to happen. It will. It will for sure. And also an ancient. Yes, I feel it. I feel friggin' ancient. I hurt. I'm tired. Wayne says they say I'm an ancient as well, but it's because I smell. Oh my God, this is my life. This is my life. But
That's funny.
I know. Yeah, we never. Okay, so lots of comments going. No, realistically, you never know what's going to happen, and I think if you can exist with your spirit people, you should because I've said forever, we share space with a whole
Yeah.
other realm of
Heck,
beings.
we didn't even talk ET tonight. My God, that's a whole different story too.
Well,
Mhm.
we can do that. Yeah, there's a lot with ET. I have great ET experiences. I
Me
didn't
too.
always appreciate them as much as I do now, and it's not for everybody. There's a lot of people who don't have good experiences, and
Mhm.
we
I
like
have
to.
missing time. I have missing time. I
Yeah.
literally blinked, and an hour and a half later, I woke up miles away, opposite in car in the opposite direction, and my phone was ringing. It was my partner Dell going, "Where are you?" I was only supposed to be at the store for 3 hours or 3 minutes, and an hour and a half later, I
Oh,
had to say, "I don't know where I am," and I could hear him yelling, "What do you mean you don't know where you are?" I said, "I'm
know
about
where
to
you
hang up. I got
are.
to use the GPS."
I know, right? What?
Mhm.
I know. I don't know. I think paranormal and extraterrestrials, contact, they go. I think they go hand in hand. I think back to
Absolutely.
how many people I've worked with who were having, at least half of them were having extraterrestrial experiences, whether they're just being an experiencer, contact, abduction, full on. Now, when I look back, I mean, I know now, that I've had these experiences, and I've talked to family members, and I know these experiences have been lifelong, and they have been,
Yep.
definitely through family lines. But you start to think to yourself, all these paranormal experiences. Now I sit there and think, how many of them were ET as well?
We were told that by this. Do you know
Yeah,
Katrina Cooper? Do you know her by any chance? She's a excellent medium. I always joke and
right.
say if she gave me the lottery numbers, she'd be one person I'd go buy, run out and buy a ticket. We don't do that as mediums, but I'm saying she's that accurate. She did a reading for me. I still have the recording. And when she started telling me this years ago at my previous home, she said there was some kind of crystal buried like 10, 20,000 years ago deep in the
See,
ground
that's
below my old home.
crazy.
I thought
Yeah,
she
yeah,
lost
yeah.
her mind, and then I went, like I said, "Thank you." We had a great reading, and afterwards,
Yeah.
I went, "No, I know how accurate she is." I had her on my show in the Angel Rock a few months ago. We talked about that because I'd never told her. I said, "Katrina, I thought you'd lost your damn mind." And then I realized,
Right.
"Oh, no."
Oh, do it, do it. Yeah.
Yeah. She
Well,
said the natives knew there was some land that was meant to be lived on and some not, and she said my house where it was built wasn't. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
no, 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 no. It's okay. It's okay. You go ahead. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
did you ever do any research on it? Did you ever get it all sorted out, or are you just assuming that
With
it's the
with the
crystal?
previous home, you mean?
Yeah, the crystal.
Like,
The crystal.
no, I never found out. I did history on I did research on the land, and I never could contact the owners. The old house was built in
Right.
1958. There was three very quick successive owners, and then
Right.
my ex-husband's family had it.
Wow.
Why did those three families move out so quickly? Like a matter of three families in about
Well, that
3 to 4 years.
amps stuff up. I mean, the manor, our last house is built over all kinds of quartz. There's a
Mhm.
lot, all kinds of it. To do energy workers to try to dim that stuff because that house is a
Mhm.
freaking beacon. So, well, that would explain things. So I could see that amping up activity, and well, here's your source.
Our
Yes,
whole
I could see that.
neighborhood our whole neighborhood was
See,
affected. Mhm.
see. So I'm just wondering if it was the whole area was just had a lot of quartz crystal under it.
I don't know. Well, we're known for Super 7 crystals in Thunder Bay. It's one of the places in the world, and
Yes,
Adventuring 23, one of the best places to buy them. So we're in a
right.
very, well, you've been through Thunder Bay. You've told me
I
yourself
have. I
that
spent a week.
crazy.
I spent a week in Thunder Bay. I loved it.
Yeah, but the
I really
activity, you
liked Thunder
said.
Bay a lot. There's
Hmm.
this club
But
called
the
the Zoo. I
activity,
really loved it. Oh yeah, it was.
I think it's closed now, that zoo.
Is it? Oh, it's been a
Yeah.
long time. It was a great place. I loved it.
But I remember you
So
telling me how crazy the activity was here. Like we have
yes.
everything, like cryptids and
Oh yeah.
UFO. Mhm.
Oh,
Yep.
oh yeah. You guys have a lot up there. But I think it's because so much of it is just untouched. Like when you go south, it's just
Yeah.
there's so much people energy. It I mean, no offense to the peeps, but we corrupt everything. our
Yeah.
energy, and we're tired, we're overworked, we're busy, we don't pay attention, we're angry, we're all on top of one another. And when you go out to these more remote areas, like a population of 100,000 is nothing really,
Well, plus
on the
we're on
grand
Lake
scheme of
Superior.
things.
Yeah, but we're on Lake
Oh, Lake
Superior, the
Superior, I
massive
know.
body of
I
water.
know. That in itself is like
I
that
know
in
they say there's
itself.
like a Bermuda Triangle in Lake Superior. There's a
Same with
lot
Lake
of stuff.
Ontario.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
same with Lake
Definitely.
Ontario, Lake Michigan. I wouldn't be surprised realistically if they have them everywhere. There are portals and vortices and vortexes. I mean, they're all over the place. The ancients built on these power spots. Power spots tend to
Yeah.
have these portals, but it's great because some of the ancients would come in with these big circular doorways right there. Here's a portal because, not everybody can psychically see them. So it's
Hmm.
just so fascinating. But I love it. I love it. And we'll have to continue the conversation another time because apparently we're at the top of the hour and, but that was fun. But
Thank you for having me. I love being here.
oh,
It always goes by so quick talking to you.
oh gosh, thank you. Thank you. I know Amelia she's like, I'm so sorry I can't be there, but I'm playing in the dark. I'm in agony. I'm like, oh, but we'll do it
Oh,
again. I think it would be a lot of fun and kind of pick up where we left off and maybe branch into, some of the ET experiences a bit. That might be fun.
then I gotta have you in a minute. I've had you on, but I haven't had you on as a duo on the Angel Rock. So I have to have you guys on there too again.
Yeah, it'll be
Mhm.
fun. It'll be fun. So we'll definitely do it again. I love it. And everybody's chiming in. So, guys, thank you guys. You guys make
Thank
it
you.
that much more fun. And we're always just so grateful to have you guys all participating. So, thank you, Chris, you're a champ.
Thank you.
And I love it, Chris, because Chris loves everybody. The show's like, you
Aw,
guys are great. I love you. I
well,
know.
thank
And we love you
you.
back.
Aw,
We
thank
love
you.
you back. But thank you to everybody for tuning in. Big thank you to Lorilei for joining
Yeah.
us. And check her out tomorrow night. Thing at the foot of at the end. Oh, God, it's a tongue twister. Lorilei, help me out. The
David
thing at the
came
foot
up
of the
with it.
bed.
Thing at the foot of the bed. You guys, we have so much fun. I'm going to tell you, my co-host David is hilarious. And what we do, okay, is you guys are a big part of the show. And Zach will tell you, Sandra will tell you, if Howie's still here. I know Michelle's here. A bunch of people. I know we people that follow the network follow many shows, but they will tell you we take your comments, your questions, and we talk about and answer the spooky, kind of creepy, kind of strange, unusual stuff. And we talk about it. What do you guys got to say about it? What do you want to know about it? You'll have lots of fun. So join us 7 p.m. tomorrow night, Eastern Standard Time. Thing at
There.
the bed.
I could not have said all of that.
Oh, thank you.
And Angel Rock is when? Angel Rock is
Monday,
when?
Monday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's the show I have guests on. And we have an amazing, actually, she wasn't able to make it this Monday. I was thinking it's next week. The week after, she's coming back. Carmen Schott Turner. And this lady's amazing. First time I've ever understood astrology. It's either your
Oh,
thing or it's not. She's amazing. She's got a new book out called Phoenixes and Angels. So she's coming to talk about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Mhm.
very nice. I love it. I love it. So make
Thank you,
sure,
Jessica.
make sure you check out Lorilei and her 2 shows. You'll have a great time. And tomorrow night, of course, is just right before the Outer Realm. So tomorrow night, we're actually going to be replaying. Yes, it's a replay, people. So don't get mad if nobody answers you in chat because it's a replay. But it's one of our favorites, and we're going to be playing Ron Moorhead and Quantum Bigfoot, and he's done some amazing things. So Google the Sierra Sounds; they're fascinating. For those of you who watched Alaskan Killer Bigfoot, he did a really amazing segment with them. It was just fascinating. So we're going to play that again, and I'm hoping that you guys will dig it a second time around. For those who haven't seen it, I know you will love it because it's one of our personal favorites. So we're going to go that route. Next week we're coming back with, because I'll be playing this tomorrow night, guys. So I will tell you right now. Next week, we've got Reverend Bill Bean back. We're going to be talking about the Mandela
Black
effect.
Bell.
We're going to be Yeah, he's wonderful. We're going to be talking about, UFOs. He's been on a few times. We've talked a lot about a lot of different things, but he's got a lot more he wants to talk about. And on the 3rd, being Thursday, we're bringing back Brad Olson, and we're going to be talking about sacred spots and so on. And I know, guys, just amazing. So we keep bringing him back because he just has so much information. But I can tell you guys, we've got a lot of new people coming on. So the next couple of months are going to be filled with a lot of new faces, and I mean fascinating new faces, along with some of our personal favorites that we know and love, who keep returning because they just love us and we love them. So have yourselves a great week, guys. Enjoy the segment tomorrow, and we'll see you live next week. So
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks, Michelle.
I love it. So you hang tight, and I'll be seeing you in a few minutes. So I just have to play one more. I know, guys, I'm sorry. Good night.
All right, everybody. It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The Outer Realm in the category of Best Female Hosted Podcast. The Outer Realm is a very popular show hosted by Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, which boasts millions of listeners each week, who are well known for and have been complimented on their very laid-back, roundtable style of interviewing. Together, this dynamic duo brings you the best of the best with guests from around the world who are well-versed within their respective fields of ufology, paranormal, esoteric, and other areas of high strangeness, and more. So go to podcastawards.com to nominate The Outer Realm in the category Best Female Hosted Podcast. That's podcastawards.com. And please take a moment and do it now.